Yeah, but could I ask you to come up, please, before we...
Just want to verify.
I just want to verify these numbers,
Mhm.
if we go with this.
Right.
I think that these are my numbers.
Is that the levy, is that to the levy line?
That's pretty much, there's excess levy capacity of 10,000.
10,493.01.
10,000.
See, this happened last year. 29,185,799, which is 10,400. I'm sorry, tax rate. My borrowing is the rate. Okay, thank you.
So, any other questions regarding tax hearing? Close the hearing, and I'll entertain some motions.
Mr. Chairman.
First one.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to establish a tax classification factor of 1.0.
Motion made by Mr. Vino, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, I move not to establish a residential exemption.
Motion made by Mr. Vino, seconded by Mr. Dardino. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move not to establish a commercial exemption.
Motion by Mr. Vino, seconded by Mr. Harris. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend that the FY 2007 property tax levy at $29,185,799.99, which is $10,493.01 less than the levy limit.
Motion made by Mr. Vino, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Any discussion, questions?
Just a lot, we said that we taxed to the limit, right?
Just
We
about.
didn't tax to the limit.
We didn't
No, we
tax
didn't
them
go all the
all.
way. Could have turned the streetlights on if we did.
Not that we go very far, $10,000.
Put the lights on.
Good point. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend to the Board of Assessors that the FY 2007 tax rate be set at $10.82 per thousand evaluation.
Motion made by Mr. Vino, seconded by Mr. Dardino. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would just ask that you sign the LA 5 form, which certifies that the tax classification hearing was held tonight, and more importantly, the excess capacity of Selectmen Vino read in his motion. If you would sign on the bottom line. Thank you.
This is,
I voted.
everybody
Yeah,
sign,
all
everybody
board
signs
members.
this?
Yes. All board members sign?
Okay, let's see, what have we got? Let's see if we can get to the rest of this. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can we, Mr. Vino had some concerns about the Verizon thing. Can we do the Verizon thing, because I need to go.
Can I skip those? I want to bring up something on the Verizon on the whole business, if we could jump to that, if you don't
So,
mind.
because
Because
Mr. Vino has to leave. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Dardino.
Mr. Dardino has to leave, excuse me.
Are we ready?
Yes, we're
Okay,
ready.
thank you. Well, what I wanted to know is, and maybe Mr. Dadino can answer this, or maybe Mr. Valiakonis can, where are we with Verizon broadcasting these meetings? The deadline was October 31st, and if it's not being done tonight, right now, I would ask that the board support me and back me on this. I want to start fining Verizon to the maximum daily limit that we can. But this is basically what the board had agreed to when we said we will hold off and give them the extension to October 31st. So, I don't know where we are.
Yeah. Right now, Verizon's work is completed. Verizon has made the connection to the studio. They're ready to connect and pick up the meetings. As they were ready on the day of the 31st, they contacted Comcast, and Comcast has some issues and has not agreed to hook up. Comcast has indicated that they own the INET. They actually own, well, there's some question about whether or not we own the broadcast. I believe we own the broadcast. The INET is, the contract says that the INET is owned by Comcast, and that when we go to renewal contract, we're allowed to buy the INET for $1. So that'll be January 2008. But right now, what's happening is that Verizon is talking with Comcast. The Comcast, in defense of Verizon, and absolutely there are some issues with Verizon, certainly, but in defense of Verizon, they have done their work. They've completed it on October 31st. They completed, ready to hook up. They intended to hook up that day. Unfortunately, the people from Comcast have been away at meetings and have not been available to meet with Verizon. Now, I spoke to Verizon today. I spoke with Comcast today. Everybody's confident that they're going to work out the details and have this done. I indicated to them that in Comcast words, it's a process, is what they told me. And I said, that's fine, that it's a process, but let's make it a process that happens sooner rather than later. For both, Verizon has kept in contact, I know, with Mr. Valiakonis as well as me. They have really made an effort, and as far as delivering on their promise to get the work done, they did have ready to go on October 31st. This kind of problem with Comcast, I would suggest that we give them a little bit of time to resolve this. I think it's not per se. I don't really want to assess blame. I think Verizon could have done some things better, as I've said before. But clearly, they're ready to go. And Comcast has some legitimate issues that they're entitled to have, I think. Some legitimate questions. I think we need to wait and see who anybody's dragging their feet. Any questions?
Mr. Bean?
Thank you. Mr. Dadino, I certainly am not aiming these comments at you. I understand
No problem.
you've done a fantastic job. Respectfully, I couldn't disagree with you more, because Verizon said nothing to Comcast as of our meeting when we told them we wanted this up by the 31st. That's what the representative said. And we had said to that lady, who we could not blame, is a terrible word, but I'm going to use it, blame, because she was new coming on board. Verizon should have known this when they came to us looking for a license. When they got the license, I feel they should have immediately made negotiations and started talks with Comcast. They did not do it. They did not hold up their part of the bargain, and all they're doing is snowballing us over again and again and again. They don't care if this broadcast goes up, in my opinion. That's my opinion alone. I'm not speaking for the rest of the board. They do not care if this broadcast goes on over Verizon or not, because they have the license. And that's all they wanted, in my opinion. I really feel, and I thought we had I'll call it a verbal agreement, that if this was not up and running by October 31st, we were going to definitely start finding them. Now, we did not vote on that. I didn't want to give them the chance back then, if you remember correctly, if the board remembers. I wanted to start that night. But I said, okay, I'll go to October 31st. Now it's October, excuse me, Mr. Dadino. Now it's October 30, we're well past October 31st. This is going to be set again on November 31st. It's going to be set again on December 31st. And I think I've gotten calls from citizens, and they are upset, and they have a right to be. Because we all know that when Verizon came in, they did not tell them they would not be able to get these meetings. But that's a separate issue. That's a separate issue. My issue is, I believe wholeheartedly, when we left that meeting, I don't have the date, that if it were not up and running and being broadcast by October 31st, we were going to start finding Verizon. Now, maybe I misunderstood, and I'm not saying that we have to do it because of that, but that was my understanding, that this board was finally going to put their foot down. I think, now, again, I can't speak for the whole board. I think that they came in just to get that license, just like many other things Verizon does, and then they don't care. So I would request that we go forward with the finding process, and then you'll see how quick they get a hold of somebody from Comcast.
Can I offer a
That's
little bit
my
more
request.
information?
Mr.
we-
Dadino?
Just want to get more information.
Yeah,
Mr. Dadino?
Okay. First of all, the contract gives them 90 days to get the job done, okay? And we granted them an extra 30. So they're really, and again, I'm not into defending Verizon.
I
Verizon's
know
done some
that.
things here very wrong, okay? But this is not, and I want to give two pieces of information. First of all, we met with Comcast, the cable committee met with Comcast earlier in October, okay? And in early October, when we met with Comcast, the particular people involved, the government liaisons, and I asked specifically, we asked specifically in the meeting, Verizon needs to hook up to pick up public access. Will there be a problem? And the answer was given by Comcast, no, everything will work out, there'll be no problem, okay? So I think that this is a little more complicated than it seems on its surface. I believe that Verizon did not jump on this right away. I do think they do want to get this done. I've spoken to them quite extensively. They really are, they did a fantastic job in obeying the board and working diligently to finish a job that they conceived to be a big job in 30 days. And they were ready to go. They are ready to go now as we speak, okay? They're ready to hook up. Comcast has, I think Comcast is entitled to have some concerns, but the problem is, and this is again the problem I have with blaming just Verizon, is that the Comcast liaison was out of the office, not on vacation, but out of the office on Monday, okay? Monday the 31st, the day that Verizon was supposed to hook up, okay, and has not returned a phone call to Verizon, okay, in over a week. Okay, so Comcast, see, I don't want to assess blame here. I don't want to point fingers and assess blame. I do think that what Mr. Vino was suggesting is, I agree that if this isn't done, we ought to take action. But I think that we ought to given the fact that it's not just Verizon's issue, and it's not all in their control, all right, I think we ought to give at least until our next meeting before we decide to penalize. That being said, that's my opinion, and as I say, Verizon's not all at issue. There's some Comcast issue here, and Comcast needs to, I called Comcast today and told Comcast, you know what, whatever you want of Verizon, speak now. Let's get it going and make a decision as to what your problems are, what your concerns are, and speak up so Verizon can hook up. Let me tell you what the penalty is. Okay, the penalty provided by law, by the agreement, okay? And what the agreement calls for in order to impose a penalty